Hello, you have a prepaid call from
Antwaun.
An individual in custody at Danville Correctional Center. You must listen to this entire message before entering a selection. To hear the charges for this call, press 2. To accept this call, press 5. To refuse this call, hang up now. To block this call and all future calls, press 9. You may enter a selection now. This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time.
Welcome back to D from the Bays podcast. I'm your host, D, and this is a space where real stories are told by the real people who live them. Today's episode is like any other. My guest has spent more than 30 years behind bars while maintaining his innocence. This isn't just a conversation about prison. It's about hope, resilience, faith, loss, and what it means to fight for your freedom when the world has already made up its mind. Whether you believe in the justice system or question it, I ask that you listen with an open mind. This episode isn't about deciding guilt or innocence. It's about hearing a human being's story in their own words. I'll also link Jason Flume's interview with Antwaun below. Antwaun, welcome.
Hey, thank you. Good morning, D.
Good morning.
Or should I say D from the Bay?
You can call me D.
Okay. All right.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Glad you reached out. Able to link up with you to do this podcast. A little something different. So
Yeah.
I was very interested in doing it.
Well, I do want to thank you for doing it and taking the time out to do it today.
That's no problem.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about life in prison. And for the viewers that don't know you or haven't heard your story, like I said, I'm going to link the link below so that they can go back and hear your story. And but what I do want to do is I want you just to give them a little background of who you are, where you came from, and just tell them a little bit about yourself in a nutshell before we dive in.
Okay, so my family and we're originally from the south side of Chicago, 131st Argyle Gardens Project. But then we eventually moved out to the west side of Chicago, and migrating over to the suburban area, which is Oak Park, which is a real close suburban area next to the west side of Chicago, where I ended up going to school at. And after that, migrating further out to the suburbs, western. But initially, I played basketball, high school, was ranked in the top 100 in the country, top 25 in the state, All-American, All-Conference, All-Area, All-State, All-American, nominated to the All-American McDonald basketball game. Ended up getting a scholarship to go to college, but of course this situation here derailed that. So that's me in a nutshell, a kid from the projects, made it out of the projects, made it to suburban life, and now I'm here.
So I want to kind of dive in because for someone like you that's been wrongful convicted and you're innocent, I want to know, what was your first night like in prison?
Oh, man. That first night, I ain't going to even front. It was scary to say the least. It was scary because you're not knowing. You're walking into the unknown. So, you hear a lot of rumors about prison. You hear a lot of stories, but it's nothing like experiencing it. And we arriving to prison that first day and just witnessing the cells, witnessing the steel bars. It was unreal, but there's nothing in comparison to hearing that door slam behind you, once you walk into whatever cell you've been assigned to. Hearing that door slam, it creates a reality check for you. And once you're in there, you looking at it, or at least I did. I thought to myself, like, damn, I got to basically share a bathroom with another man until I go home, and it was a reality check.
How did you survive that mentally, knowing that you were innocent?
I gotta credit that to my family, my mother mostly, but family, friends, they kept me grounded with visits, phone calls, everything that I needed to stay mentally strong and stay focused for the most part, and which was hard because it's a lot of distractions. But I definitely have to credit that to my family and close friends. A lot of mentors, who did stick around, who supported me. So mentally and emotionally, that's how I made it. Knowing that I was innocent of the crime that I was incarcerated for.
Were there days that you wanted to give up?
There was a lot of days. There was a lot of days where I felt as though I was tired. I was tired of fighting. And you do want to quit. You do want to give up. But I think the one thing that prevented me from that, once again, I felt that it would have been unfair to me, knowing that I was innocent. But it would have been more unfair to, my son I left behind, and my grandson that I have now, my mother, people who love and care for me. I think that would have been unfair. So I think that motivated me not to give up. But of course, definitely, I'd be lying if I sat there and said that there wasn't times where I just wanted to be like, man, I'm tired. But I kept pushing through.
What kept you alive and spiritually and emotionally? Like, how did you cope with it?
A lot of praying, a lot of talking to God, or whatever it is that you believe in. But for me, it was talking. It was talking to God. It was just finding something to keep me grounded. Even in those dark moments of giving up. Just having that conversation, not knowing if your conversation is being heard or going past the ceiling. It was that hope that, maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow he's hearing what I'm saying to him. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of praying. There was a lot of thinking. That's one thing you do have a lot of. You have a lot of time to think. So I say, between prayer and just having a real conversation with, the higher power. That's what helped me.
Would you say that prison changed who you are?
Yeah, it definitely changed. It definitely changed who I am, for the better. I would say that because I was able to know thyself. I was able to realize who I was as not just as a man, but as a person. I've learned to have patience, and which I didn't have before. Everything had to be at such a quick pace. So, I definitely had to learn patience. I also learned how to be direct with people, let people know where I stand and what I expect. And I know this isn't everybody's reality, but I try to deal in black and white and no gray areas, even though I know reality is that, there are gray areas at times. But in here, that worked for me because there was no misunderstanding. So whenever I'm having a conversation with somebody, I like to know exactly where they're coming from, and I want them to know where I'm coming from. And I think in the mix of all that, I've learned how to be unselfish. So I'm not a selfish person. So I find find joy in helping others. Just seeing others succeed now, because it's like, even at a young age when I did get incarcerated, I was blessed, especially with the sports and other things like that. But now I'm at a point to where I like seeing other people succeed, other people be successful. And if I can play a part in that, and then I'm good with that.
Antwaun, one quick question. How old were you when you was arrested and charged?
I was 18. And 2 weeks after my arrest, I turned 19. So it was 2 weeks before my birthday, which was June 21st. So I got locked up June the 1st of 1996.
Yeah, I just want the world to know that, because you have been in there pretty much your whole life, your whole adult life,
Right.
So that's a long time. And for you to have gained, like, how to deal with people, how to talk to people, not wanting to give up, because you know that you have family that's very supportive and love you and care for you, and your child, your grandchild, your mom, cousins, and then you was this all-star athlete that wasn't able to, like, pursue your whole dream, but you still didn't give up. You didn't let that be a block in your life or an excuse. You just kept going. Who stood by you as far as, like, family and relationships, and who disappeared?
Well, once again, my mother, that's my rock. She's been there, from the very beginning. Other family members as well. But if I just had to pinpoint specific individuals, of course I say, my mother, like my immediate family, of course, and a few mentors of mine. It was one thing that I had to learn in this journey that I'm dealing with. A lot of people who I thought were friends, actually wasn't. And it's crazy because, growing up, you say, this person is your best friend or this person is your friend. And, when shit gets thick, that's not the case. And it's crazy you ask this question because growing up, you have, your home girl or your home boy who is your best friend. Y'all been through some things together. But in my situation, it's like the guys were the ones that broke. The guys are the ones that wasn't around. The female friends of mine were more loyal. They the ones that stuck around, even through their marriages and their relationships and, them living their lives. We always maintained some type of communication, some type of friendship. And that's all it was. It was just a friendship, but they were more of friends to me than a lot of the guys were. So those are the ones that stuck by me, and those are the ones that disappeared,
So would you say that hurted more than the prison sentence of losing people you loved and you thought that were your friends, your support system? Like, what hurt more, the prison sentence or losing people you love, which we already know, but I just want to hear it from you.
Yeah, I would have to say the prison sentence hurt more. Mm-hmm. The only reason I say that is because this was my first offense. Never been locked up before in my life. And they gave me natural life plus 30 years for something I didn't do. So I think it hurt more because it's like they locked me up and threw away the key in a sense. Mm-hmm. Not thinking about my potential down the line. Not thinking about, is he really innocent or guilty? Mm-hmm. I feel and I felt that it was just a punishment that never stopped. So I would have to say that it was the sentence. The sentence was very harsh. You know, I know a lot of guys that's done committed the actual case. You know, they committed the murders, they committed the armed robberies, or whatever it is they was locked up for, and it was more heinous. And they're home. You know, they're home. They done been home and came back a couple times. And, you know, I'm still here fighting to prove my innocence. So it definitely has to be the sentence.
So it takes me to, what has prison stolen from you that you can never get back or be replaced?
So thinking about it, I mean, you know, it's definitely taken a lot, but you know, of course, you know, through the door, it stole my future. That's something that I can't get back. You know, the direction and the potential that I had to, that I was going in, I would never be able to get that back. But just in general, I could never get back, you know, my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, raising my son, you know, help raise my grandson. You know, those type of things, there is nothing that can bring that back. So that's gone. So anything moving forward has to be, you know, new relationships, new reality, new everything has to be established all over again. So that's just, you know, memories I can never get.
Being in prison for so long, like 30 years, has prison given you something that you never expected or thought that you wouldn't learn?
I've learned a lot of things being here, but I think the one takeaway from it is I see things a lot clearer. I'm able to look at things before I react and respond to it. You know, I have more patience. And then also too, you know, prison has given me an education in a sense that the classroom never could have given me. You know, just the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that I have gained from being incarcerated. You know, that's something I can't get in the classroom. And I think that helped me as a person, as a man, grow. But it's definitely a tough pill to swallow, though.
What skills have you developed while being incarcerated?
I think one of the skills I've developed is that I'm good at reading people, and I think that's a survival skill from being, you know, incarcerated. You know, you have to learn how to read people in order to survive, especially in my situation. You know, I've been in a maximum security prison my whole bit. So I would definitely say knowing how to read people, knowing how to read the room. That's not something that I ever focused on, especially when I was home. That's not even something that, you know, really crossed my mind as something that I needed to know or learn, but it's one thing that I did.
Have there been any misconceptions that people have about inmates?
Oh yeah, misconception. That's all the time. I think the biggest misconception that people have about guys that's locked down is that, you know, it's the worst of the worst. The guys are heartless, uneducated, you know, ignorant, and can't, you know, be rehabilitated. And, you know, the reality is, I mean, that does apply to some, but not all, because you'll be surprised about how many guys here that have degrees that are educated. They're far from dumb, and they have a good heart. But, you know, society has a tendency of not giving you an opportunity or a chance. The one thing, though, I will say within the last 15, 20 years about prison reform and advocates who do advocate for prisoners, they see it and they give us an opportunity to display those talents to society. So that would be the biggest misconception, though. People have a negative outlook on prisoners, which doesn't apply to all.
What lessons have you learned about yourself?
Probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned is probably trust. Not trusting everyone. I have a tendency to trust easily, because that's how my mother is. That's just how I was built. I give people the benefit of the doubt until they show me differently. But now I've learned to make people earn my trust, and I think that was one thing that I had to learn about myself. Making people earn my trust, because it was real easy for me to trust you, and a lot of times you set yourself up for disappointment or worse. Mm-hmm. Look at my situation now. It was somebody who I trusted, and by me trusting them, got me where I'm at. That would be the biggest thing, trust. That's what I had to learn about myself.
How has prison changed since you first arrived? I know it's changed tremendously.
I think the whole prison system changed a lot since when I came through. So when I came through in the 90s, it was so much violence. Like, you didn't know if you was going to make it day to day. Like, real talk. Like, guys getting killed every day, getting beat every day, getting raped every day. Anything that you can think of, or anything that you heard negative about prison, that's what was going on in the Illinois prisons, especially in the max joints. When I came, it was, you was moving at your own risk. You didn't know how the day was going to start. You didn't know how it was going to end. But now, it has totally flipped. Now, like I said, it's about prison reform. So it's more about programming now. It's more about rehabilitation now. It's more about prison reform. Guys are given an opportunity now to change their life around. Before you didn't have that opportunity. You didn't have a say, especially if you was hooked up with blood. So now you do have that opportunity. You have the opportunity to go to school or get a trade, something along those lines, work. Before, when I came in, you didn't have those options. And if they were there, they were real slim. So it totally, the Illinois Department of Corrections has changed, like night and day.
So, like, I want to know, what's the hardest part of serving time as someone who's innocent? Like, the hardest part that you have to deal with, knowing that you're innocent.
I think the hardest part is knowing that you're innocent, and getting somebody to actually hear you. Because there's a lot of guys who say they're innocent. But the reality is they can't prove it. They can't prove that they're innocent. So when you can actually sit there and prove your innocence, multiple times over, and have other people do the same for you on your behalf, it's a good feeling. Mm-hmm. But if you're not able to have those people or be heard, that's the hardest part. It's hard getting people to hear you. Mm-hmm. It's hard getting people to validate your story. You know, it's hard to have people advocate on your behalf. You know, because coming through the door, you know, they're considering you a liar. You know, you will say or do anything to get out of a bad situation. Mm-hmm. So it's hard. It's very hard to get people to sit there and advocate for you and support you. So I will have to say that's the hardest part of serving time, especially when you're innocent.
Right. So what does freedom mean to you now?
Freedom now, it to me is it's being able to be in a place where there's no restrictions and limitations placed on you. You know, for you to breathe without any repercussions. You know, you don't have to worry about you being disciplined for something that you would normally do as a human being. Mm-hmm. In this place here, there's a lot of limitations and restrictions that's placed on you. You know, and they try to stagnate your growth. So that's what freedom looks like for me. You know, freedom is not having someone try to stagnate your growth. You know, it's about not having restrictions and limitations placed on you. Mm-hmm. You know, allowing you to succeed at your own pace, allowing you to succeed and be successful without someone trying to suppress it. So that's what freedom means to me, and that's how it looks to me.
And speaking of freedom, if you were released tomorrow, what's the first thing you'll do?
Wow. I know this sounds corny, right? I know it sounds corny. And for everybody that's listening, you know, hey, don't judge me. But I think the one thing that I do for sure is soak in the tub. I got to. Like I just want to get in a nice hot tub and just soak and sleep in a real bed. If I can do them two things my very first night, I'm good. But that's my reality. That's what I want to do.
Right.
You know, my first night, I want to just soak in that tub, you know, sleep in a real bed, and, man, you know, hit the reset button and start all over, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you got to understand, that's not corny because when you think about it, prison doesn't have a tub. So
right.
It's not corny. It's something that you've been wanting to do. And when the world thinks about it, it's like you didn't been in prison since you was 19 years old. So you really haven't had the luxury of soaking in a tub. And that's something that you can say when you're able to do that you're grateful for even being able to do it, because us on the outside can go soak in the tub right now if we wanted to. You know?
Exactly.
So it's not corny.
Yeah, and that's, you know, a lot of people be like, man, this dude been locked up for 30-something years, and he talking about he want to go soak in a tub. but you know, you gotta get this prison up off you. You
right.
know?
They do too on a low key. They want to go soak in the tub too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure of it.
Oh my God. So, I'm gonna ask you a question. If you were able to see yourself as 16, 17, 18 years old, what would you tell yourself now, you know?
Stay focused. You know, it's one thing I would say to myself. If a person isn't on what you on, you shouldn't be around them. And by that I mean, you know, if you're going down a certain path, or if that's your goal to go down a certain path, and those individuals aren't going down that same path with you, then you shouldn't be hanging with them. You know, a lot of times we have a tendency to hang out with the wrong crowd. Mm-hmm. Even though you may not be participating in the exact same things that they are, it's that environment still, you know. So I would tell myself, you know, if they ain't on what you on, get out of there. Stay focus, and be patient. Take your time. So that's definitely what I tell myself. I'm not big on lectures, so I wouldn't lecture myself. But I am big on, guidance. And I think that would be, the key. Guiding people, let my younger self know, like, stay focused. Focus on the big picture. And, don't put yourself in situations to where you'll regret it later,
So, speaking of guidance, what would you tell someone that's going through the same experience that you're going through right now, that they can't see it in a positive outlook? What would you tell them?
For everybody it's different. But if I was having a conversation with somebody or mentoring someone, I try to be real with them, and I let them know, like, a lot of the time you're not living for yourself. You're living for, your mom, or you're living for your kids. So whatever motivates you, do it for them. Because a lot of the times, people have a tendency to give up on themselves before they give up on, people that's close to them.
Mm-hmm.
I also tell them to think outside the box. Don't allow prison to trap you. And by that I mean mentally. I'm never here. All 30 years I've been here, I'm never here. And by that I mean I'm constantly doing something. I created my clothing line from here. I'm in a lot of different programs in here. I'm a mentor. I'm a facilitator. So I'm never here. I'm never present here. Like, physically, yes, but mentally, no. You have to find something that you enjoy, and you have to find something that's going to allow you to escape. So that's what I would basically tell them. That's how you survive.
And speaking of clothing line, where can people find your merch?
So you can go to my Facebook page, which is my name, Antwaun Cubie. That's ANTWAUN. My last name, CUBIE. Or you can go to my Instagram, which is Cubie's Court. That's CUBIE and the word court. COURT. And you'll be able to find, some of my stuff on there. Which I got, I got the jogging suits, I got the hoodies, the t-shirts, the hats. A lot of people have been supporting, and I appreciate y'all for supporting me. I got some cool stuff, though, so check it out.
Yes. Antwaun, I do want to thank you for trusting me to hear your voice, hear your story, allowing our audience to hear it. I know these conversations aren't easy, and I truly appreciate your honesty and your courage for doing it today. To everyone that's watching or listening, thank you for spending the time with us. If this episode made you think, challenge, or even you saw it in a different perspective, or it moved you in a way, please share it. Share it with someone. Conversations like these matter because they remain with us in every case as a human being behind it that's actually doing the time. Also, to my new subscribers, thank you for subscribing to my channel. If you're watching this, go ahead and hit that like, comment down below, subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost a dime. Turn on those notifications so you'll never miss an episode. And if you love to, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments down below. What stood out to you the most? So everyone, until next time, this is Dee from the Bay. Keep seeking the truth, keep showing compassion, and remember that every voice deserves to be heard.